Sitting under a half-clouded moon, he felt the cold cement of his front steps rise through his wranglers all the way up to the base of his neck. He turned up his collar, breathed a long breath of smoke and steam, and stared at the empty parking lot across the street. A genius on the brink of discovery. A dreamer on the brink of delusion. Volumes of spiral notebooks sat on countless shelves, each of them jammed with microscopic ballpoint scratching, both sides of the page, that could save the world. These were lunatics' libraries for which he had no need, and yet his mind's eye darted like a hornet, up and across, over and through the dense, voluminous mass of notions, opinions, theories, and philosophies that were his constant companion, his burden, his salvation. He checked his jeans for cash, then discovered himself crossing the street back to his house with a box of mint creams and a cold gallon of skim milk. Flipping back and forth between a PBS documentary on the 1994 Republican Revolution and an old Letterman rerun, he ate, drank, and laughed. Mostly at the documentary. Poised and resolute, he ate the last mint cream, chased it with a final hit of skim, and went upstairs to bed. He slipped between the sheets. The bedside clock clicked to the 11th hour, and as the cool pillow greeted his neck, the radio announcer's voice became his lullaby. Again. It's the NeoRadio Hour. Hi, I'm Peter Donalds, and this is the NeoRadio Hour, home of independent writers, musicians, and home tapers, the folk artists of the electronic age. We've got the usual eclectic mix of scenes, stories, sounds, sculptures, and original music, including a few neo-bits from our own studios. The enigmatic Frank the Courier joins us again, as does the affable Mr. Sunshine. And in conversation, writer, teacher, performance artist, Claire Blotter. You're listening to the NeoRadio Hour, independent audio art.
A long corridor. There was a tunnel, kept weaving through the jungle. And there were ants in the jungle, snakes and wide-winged prehistoric birds. Mother, I'm tired of the jungle. I don't want to be here anymore, Mother. I'm tired of the jungle. So I entered down this corridor, past many countries. India, the Samoan Islands, Minnesota, Canada. And I said, Mother, I'm bored. These countries all look the same to me. They all remind me of the jungle where I was born. And she said, why don't you try another forest? Try another forest. So I went to the glacial plains. I went to the tundra. I smothered myself in furs and I began to slide across the ice. I said, Mother, this is nice. This is different. Mother, this is nice. This is different. Just snow and no animals. No names of foreign countries. No confusing people. Mother, no people. This is tundra, Mother. This is tundra. Bored, I said I'm getting bored of tundra. She said there's always that corridor, you can always go back to that tunnel. There's a path you can walk between the countries. There's that path there between the tundra and the sky. So I started to walk past the ants and the tigers and the prehistoric birds. And I started to see that the walking was part of the music. I started to see that the walking was part of the music because sometimes my rhythm changed. Sometimes the points of different countries changed. And sometimes the people's faces twisted into new directions. And I got under the water. And I was floating through tundra. And the people's faces became the wings of the sky. And I was flying. And I was walking. And I was singing. I said, Mother, there's something to this moving, something to the sky. Leave and go back and leave. Leave and go back and leave.
It's the NeoRadio Hour.
Sometimes I feel like an old house whose stone walls are safe and secure. But like the cold north wind, you blow in again, and a chill settles in once more. Sometimes I feel like a painter with a palette and shades of blue. Every picture I see is a portrait of me, lonesome without you. Forever Sometimes I feel like a gypsy with freedom to roam far and wide. No matter which way I go, the fork in the road leads me to your side. Sometimes I get to thinking about the true love we knew before. Your memory keeps haunting me. I am forever yours. And like the cold north wind, you're blowing again. Yes, I am forever yours.
I'm Frank. I have a bicycle shop in Saigon, New Territories, Hong Kong. I was recently having some trouble with the purloinment of my equipment. That'll be $250.
Hey, wait a minute. You, come back here with that bicycle. Wow, go get that guy. I'm busy with a customer. Fuck guy, you son of a bitch.
Oh, excuse me. Will that be cash or a credit card? I found out through some of my old contacts that the perpetrators of this thievery were members of a mainland Chinese gang led by a guy by the name of Blackie Go. I figured I'd have to pay him a visit, show some face, maybe get some of my stuff back. But yay, Blackie. Which one of your dogs have been stealing my bikes?
They might all seem like dogs to you, but they're loyal to me, and what is more, you'll find that they're all good fighters. Let's see what you're made of.
Give me that sword, Blackie. I've been watching my Jackie Chan flicks. I'm ready
Kill him.
for you. Okay, punks. Who's first? Come on, make your move.
I'll kill you, you
Make your
bitch, you
move. Come on, guys. I want my bikes back. Come here, you. I know you. Come here. Okay, Blackie. I want those bikes back now. I'm Frank. I have a bicycle shop in Saigon, fully stocked. Oh yeah, I have maps too. $2 Hong Kong in English and Chinese. Oh yes, and my bikes all come equipped with Shanghai bicycle bells and baskets for shopping. Oh yeah, you can use them. Will that be cash or credit card? Oh, thank you very much. Have a nice day.
You're listening to the NeoRadio Hour. Independent. Audio. Art.
Looking at the stars and the greenhouses of Mars. Wonder what it was like so long ago, before all the water was gone.
Before the snow was blackened.
Before all the air left the world and went out to space.
When the sea was blue, 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 blue.
And the green came out of the ground in the spring.
When there were apples instead of chocolate.
And there were vegetables instead of DNA paste.
When shells rolled out of the ocean instead of canisters of hazardous waste. When shells rolled out of the ocean and they just rolled out of the ocean.
Without the plastic replicas to guide your ears.
And we danced on the sand, we danced on the sand in our bare feet.
And looked up at the blue sky and clouds.
We rolled down the hills, we rolled down the hills.
Grass blades bending beneath our bodies' weight.
And there was a fire in the center and we cuddled around the fire. We cuddled around the fire in the center.
And in the wind that came from over the hills.
We kept throwing in branches and it would die. And we kept throwing in more branches and it would rise up, it would flame through the night.
The heat wind would rattle the leaves, and we would look up at the stars in a real night sky.
They would be dots of light, dots of light.
Flickering from the air that passes through.
And we were passing through and we knew we were passing through and many others would follow. We knew we were passing through and many others would follow and we were glad and we prepared the way. We were glad and we prepared the way around the fire. We made it comfortable for them. We wanted to make it comfortable for them. They were our fathers and our brothers and our daughters and our sons, and our daughters and our sons. And they had many faces and many names, and they watched us moving. They watched us moving.
We each had stories to tell, and we'd sit around for hours explaining what we had seen in the living world that day.
And there was the blood time and the seed time. There was the blood time and the seed time. And we bled and we grew, we bled and we grew.
And the world changed from day to day, from moment to moment.
The rose bloomed.
A different leaf would fall.
And the rose died.
A different vine would climb.
And our bodies would wither and grow old. Our bodies would wither and grow old. And we sang these songs in the mouths of caves. We sang these songs in the mouths of caves.
The old eyes would point out the new stars to the young children so they would remember.
And we were the carvers in the rock. We were the carvers in the rock.
We were the benders of the wood, the tiers of the twine.
We looked into each other's eyes and we said, hey, I belong to you. We belong to each other. I belong to you. You belong to me. We have the same faces.
We do not exist without each other.
We have the same faces. We belong to each other. We belong to the ground. We belong to the trees.
We do not exist without each other.
And we bled and we grew. We bled and we grew.
And now we look out on the greenhouses of Mars and try to remember days gone by.
There was a fire once.
You're listening to the NeoRadio Hour, independent audio art. I'm Peter Donalds, and that last piece was called Greenhouses of Mars by Claire Blotter in collaboration with Jay Yarnall. The same two teamed up for our first piece this evening, if you remember way back to the beginning of the show. That was called Tundra. Claire Blotter is our guest in the Conversation Collage tonight as our featured guest artist, and I'd like to take this opportunity right now before we talk to Claire to remind you that everything you hear on the show and all the guests you hear are independent writers, artists, musicians, and we each week solicit your help, your work. We'd like to hear what you have on the shelf. If you're a writer, an artist, a musician, even better, if we've inspired you maybe to do some writing or recording, we'd feel really proud about that. So why don't you drop us a line and let us know what you're up to, and send us a tape if you've got one. Just to give you an idea, I think everything on tonight's show has come to us just within the last couple of weeks. So we like to keep this circle moving, and we like to keep this show very much yours, mine, and ours. We now join our Conversation Collage. Again, this week's guest, writer and performance artist, Claire Blotter.
And I keep going back to them. And I do lots of different kinds of, like the Tundra piece was written with, we just sat down to, Jay and I just sat down to two synthesizers, and we started to get a rhythm, and we started to talk. I mean, I started to talk in that piece, Greenhouses of Mars. He talked, and then I talked, and it went back and forth. And we just did it in parts, and then after we got done with it, we went back and transcribed it, and then we reworked it in terms of getting the right mix for it and the right, try to duplicate the music, and then it's hard to get the inspiration the music had at first. But it takes a long time for me to finish a piece, because the writing, you have to make sure that every word is there for a reason, and then you have to work with the performance of it and putting feeling behind the words. And boy, it's hard to be there physically and with your feeling behind each word. You have to really deal with your emotions and your presence and connecting with people in the audience at the same time. You have to really own your words when you memorize a piece and perform it. What I teach and what I work with in my own work is the idea of breaking form. That it's really important to take the old forms and to break them to write in a new form or perform in a new form or a fresh form or twist the form, because the old forms are set up to get us to say certain things in the culture, which reinforce the culture. And when you break form, you actually say something new as well. And when you break the sentence, when you break the paragraph, when you break out of any kind of convention, then you get the energy to say something new. I really love working with people who have their own vision and supporting them to get to their own vision, because I think a lot of times people are guided to by mentors or teachers, or sometimes people are guided by mentors or teachers to get them to say a certain thing rather than to develop their vision in their own voice. And I think that's just vital for artists and writers to do, to really get to their own style, which means to get to their own truth.
I'm up against a wall. I'm up against a wall, and I'm talking and I'm saying how I feel, and I'm talking and I'm saying how I feel, and he seems to be listening, and I'm talking and I'm saying how I feel, and he seems to be listening, and he seems to be listening, and he doesn't know what he feels. He says he doesn't know what he feels, and so he doesn't say anything back, and so he doesn't say anything back, and so he doesn't call for 2 months, and so he doesn't call for 2 months, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and by that time I'm hurt, and by that time I'm hurt, and by that time I'm angry, and by that time I'm angry. Oh,
can't you just
forget it.
relax?
Try again. Oh,
and can't
just
you
forget
stop
it and
talking
try again.
And just
just
sit
forget it and
relax?
pretend it didn't happen.
I just want
pretend
to
it
come
didn't
home,
happen, and I'm
have a glass
talking
of wine,
back to him,
and
I'm
relax.
talking back
I
to a
just
wall, and
want
I'm
to
talking
come
to a
home,
wall, and I'm
have a glass
talking
of
to a
wine,
wall, and it
relax.
makes me more angry,
And you're pushing
more
me
it makes me
up
crazy,
against the
more
wall.
crazy, and I'm talking
And
more
you're pushing
crazy,
me
and I'm
again.
talking more crazy to get him to
And you're
talk
pushing
back.
me
I'm talking
up
to a
against
wall,
the
and it's
wall.
crazy, and I'm talking to
And
a
you're
wall, and I'm talking and I'm talking and I'm yelling
And can't you relax?
and at a wall, and it
Can't you
doesn't
just
talk
relax?
back, and he says, I haven't
can't you
cried in
stop
15
talking?
years, and he says he hasn't cried in 15 years, and he doesn't want to, and he doesn't want to, and he doesn't want to, and so he goes home, and so he goes home, and he goes home. What does he think about?
I
I'm
just
thinking
want
when
to
he
come
goes,
home,
I'm thinking,
have
what
a
does
glass
he think
of
about?
wine,
And I'm talking,
and relax.
and I'm talking
I
to a,
just want to
I'm
come
talking
home,
to a wall,
have
and
a
I'm
glass of
alone
wine,
in my
and
room,
relax.
and I'm talking
And you're pushing
to the
me
walls.
again.
It's the NeoRadio Hour.
You know, your work is strong, your creative work is strong because of how you're living your life, I believe. That may be kind of a far out thing to say, but I've seen it enough times that when people get to a new place in their writing and they listen to their unconscious and they discover something they didn't know before, and they write it, and then they see it on the page, and then they perform it. And once they get it into their body, then their life changes. Their life isn't the same. And that's why I think it's so important to write it and then learn to speak it, and then you move with it. And I think that's really how change in the culture is going to happen, or a major way it can happen. But I think sometimes that transition from writing it, you write and speak, and then, I think it's a natural transition and move, but it takes a lot of support, and that's why I think artists supporting each other is really important right now. By artists, I mean any kind of creative people doing any medium. What I do basically is I work with people to find their unconscious theme and their symbols at the moment I'm working with them, and then to encourage them to write or tell stories or create from that theme and symbols, and that's their blocked place, the place where the energy is, the place they don't know what to do, the place where they can't speak. And once they examine that place where they can't speak or they're blocked, then that place is opened up. And there's a lot of different ways of doing that. You can do it directly or you can do it indirectly. But it's like knowing your theme and then researching it in every single way you can, coming at it from every angle. And when the light is seen around that theme that you hadn't seen before, it releases a lot of energy, and there's a real transformation in the energy of the text, in the rhythm of the text, and also in the content. The more time you spend with your art, the stronger it gets. It's the detail. And the time you can see something that's a piece of art that's beautifully made, you can see the time that's been spent, and it has energy because of that time. A lot of my work has a lot of pain in it, and because of my background and my experience, and when I read those pieces, I have people come up who really connect with that, and who have never spoken of some of the things I have in my pieces, and it feels very good to be able to speak the unspeakable, or what you haven't been able to speak before, and it's sharing support with other people and sharing your vision. It's when you perform, it's a gift for the audience, and if you're given 5 minutes to do a poetry reading, then you need to think, what is the most important thing I have to say to these people for 5 minutes? Is every word there for a reason? Is it an ego trip, or is it, to be as part of this tribe, I'm giving my gift, am I doing it with integrity, But, I think poets do, part of it is to try to illuminate something with language to the culture at certain times. And, you try to, every time I get up to perform, it's like, what is my worldview right now? And how am I going to present that in 15 minutes or half hour? And it puts me through a lot of changes. I really have to concentrate for a week or 2 weeks and think about, really deeply about what it is that is important in my life right now, and which symbolically reflects what's going on in the worldwide in the United States, and put some thought into that. Boy, I can talk a lot, huh?
Yes, Claire can talk a lot, and well, that's what she does. Thank you, Claire. That's Claire Blotter, performance artist, writer, and teacher in tonight's Conversation Collage. And to properly credit the last piece by Claire, it was called Wall, and it was in collaboration with Martin Matzinger, who contributed vocals and did the mix on that piece. I'm Peter Donalds. You're listening to the NeoRadio Hour, independent audio art. Choices. A few very loud people are always trying to sell us on more free enterprise, more economic competition, and less government bureaucracy. And one of their favorite selling points is choice. Choice is good. Choice is American. The more choices we have, the more free we are. As is becoming the case in this country with alarming frequency, we have once again settled on to an indisputable axiom that is totally false. In fact, and I'm the only one you're going to hear this from, the more choices we have, the less we are free. Think about it. In order to be a responsible, functioning adult today, I've got to make a few choices. Here's a partial list I just banged out off the top of my head. Which long-distance phone company am I going to use? And which of their plans? Which job for me? Which school for my kids? What bank will have my money? And which of their several different checking accounts is right for me? There are also savings accounts, investments, retirement plans. Which car insurance? Health insurance? Life insurance? How big is my deductible? Which condom is safest? Which washer dryer to buy? Which toaster? Which television? Sofa? Which computer? Which online computer service with software? Which one of 1,000 types of breakfast cereals and peanut butter and laundry detergent and toothpaste and fruit juice and kitty litter and AA batteries? Which car do I drive? Or truck? Or maybe a van? Which gasoline and oil do I put into it? Which lube joint for my regular 10,000-mile reaming? Which typeface on my resume? Which size for my photos? Enlargements? Double prints? Which charities get my contribution? Which of 500 channels on my TV do I watch? Which of 50 radio stations do I listen to? Which magazine gets my subscription? Which fast food burger? Do I want apple pie today? Regular, large, extra large? Shall we supersize that order? Plain or spicy? Regular or extra crispy? Buried or cremated? This list could easily stretch into next week. One of the basic rules of capitalism is that it has to grow. Like the myth about the shark, it dies if it stops moving. Well, a capitalist economy dies if it stops growing. And this is not just Mr. Sunshine's little pinko opinion. Ask any freshman economics student. They cover this right after they hand out the syllabus. This never-ending growth results in an absurd amount of overlapping products and services, forcing me to be an educated consumer on every single purchase. And God forbid if I want to be a responsible citizen and vote with my dollar, as both liberals and conservatives espouse, I have to know which tuna company kills dolphins, and which ice cream manufacturer busts unions, and which lemonade maker gives money to the KKK, and whether or not that was just a rumor or it was really true. Okay, so here's the pinko part. Most of you can stop listening now. The more I'm forced to make all of these ridiculous choices as an individual, and the more information I'm required to sift and digest in order to make these choices, the less free I am to pursue my own agenda as a human being. I become a full-time consumer, a virtual slave to the system. I want reasonable, responsible, duly elected representatives to investigate, regulate, and yes, sometimes provide products and services. I guess that makes me the last communist in America. Okay, come and get me. I don't want all these ridiculous choices. I don't give diddly which phone company routes my long-distance calls. I want to choose the books I'll read. I want to choose which referendums, initiatives, and candidates to endorse. I want to choose my form of worship. I want to make private choices about private matters. I will never have the need or the desire to stand in front of a 50-foot wall of breakfast cereals. Choices. I've had plenty. Thanks. No, really. I couldn't swallow another bite. No, really. Thanks, I've had enough. I've had enough choices. Please, really, no. This is Mr. Sunshine.
NeoRadio Hour.
Girl named Mary turned my head with nothing said, thought I found love. I kissed her once under the tree, smiled bird and bee on this pretty dove. I'm dreaming, I miss the days, those feelings. Dreaming, my mind has gone through the ceiling. I miss those days of being broke and sneaking smokes without a care, of taking time to walk the field and missing meals 'cause way out there I'm dreaming of riding trails and screaming, dreaming of dancing rock and reeling. La 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 got a sense of pride today, and I must say I've learned a lot. Been aware of the child in me, most would agree we should not stop. Dreaming, I miss the days, those feelings. Dreaming, my mind has gone through the ceiling. I'm dreaming of riding trails and screaming, dreaming of dancing rock and reeling. La 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 la.
I wondered if Noam Chomsky was a Raymond Chandler fan. When I read in The Long Goodbye the following passage: "There ain't no clean way to make $100 million, Oles said. Maybe the head man thinks his hands are clean, but somewhere along the line, guys got pushed to the wall. Nice little businesses got the ground cut out from under them and had to sell out for nickels. Decent people lost their jobs. Stocks got rigged on the market. Proxies got bought up like a pennyweight of old gold. And the 5%ers and big law firms got paid $100,000 fees for beating some law the people wanted, but the rich guys didn't, on account of it cut into their profits. Big money is big power, and big power gets used wrong. It's the system. Maybe it's the best we can get, but it still ain't any ivory soap deal."
African mountain range. The yellow sunlight shining in my eyes, and the clouds like puffs of cotton, oh so slowly rolling by. With the song of the songbird, oh I love the breeze, and the beautiful patterns all around me made by the trees. Oh, there was a rainbow, mountain waterfall, and through the leaves the morning dewdrops fall. Last night I was dreaming, everything so serene, all the different colors of the color green. But I'm not in the jungle anymore. I'm sitting here upon this cold stone floor. I'm about as lonesome as a soul could be. And my days are spent by people watching me. Last night I was dreaming. Last night I was dreaming. Last night I was dreaming. Last night I was dreaming.
The
The NeoRadio Hour is written and produced by Peter Donalds and Frank Skillman. Contributing artists this time, Kristen Wilkinson, Jay Yarnall, Martin Matzinger, Jax Boys, and Ron Lance. In our conversation collage tonight, performance artist, writer, and teacher Claire Blotter. And as always, these are independent artists, and we solicit their work. We solicit your work. Everything you hear on the show comes to us from independent writers, musicians, home tapers, the folk artists of the electronic age. That'll do it for this time. It's the NeoRadio Hour. Independent audio art. Thanks for listening. I hope you taped it. I'm Peter Donalds.